This video will show you how to do quiz for 5.2 in the grade 7 textbook.
I can't even staple.
Write an addition equation to each picture, it says. I can see there is 1/2 and 5/12. So if I write 1/2 plus 5/12, there is my addition statement for each picture. If I were to solve this, I would need to get these to a common denominator. I see that 2 can go into 12. If I were to times by 6, I must times the top and bottom equally so that they are an equivalent fraction. If I bring that over, I now have 6 over 12 plus 5 over 12. That makes a total of 11 over 12. So I could say that this fraction here is indeed 11/12, like that. Here I have 2/3 plus 3/4. That's 2/3 plus 3/4. If I were to solve this, of course, I will need to make the denominators equal. Now they don't seem to go into each other, but I notice that if I were to make a list of common multiples for 3 and 4, I would have this. And I see that 12 is a common multiple. So if I were to take that and apply it to my quiz, I can see that I need to get this to 12 and that to 12. So I'm going to go times 4 to get to 12, and times 3 to get to 12. And now I have 2 times 4 is 8, 3 times 4 is 12, 3 times 3 is 9, and 4 times 3 is 12, for a total of 17 over 12, or 1 and 5/12, and that is my final answer there. Add sketch fraction strips and number line to model each addition. So let's do these one at a time. 2/8 plus 3/8. If I were to take a number line, I have 2/8 plus 3/8 here. Let it focus. There we go. 2/8 plus 3/8. So here we go. I have 0. I have 1, half, quarters, eighths, like this. So I have 2/8 plus 1, 2, 3/8 equals 5/8. 2/8 plus 3/8 equals 5/8. To do the next one, it says 2/3 plus 1/6. So to do that, I'm going to make thirds on here. First, I know I'm going to have less than 1, so I'm going to do a number line of 0 to 1. But I'm splitting it into thirds and then sixths. It said 2/3, so I'm going to have 2/3. These are sixths now because we have 1/3. Oops, 1/3 and 2/3. So I'm going to have 2/3 is all the way to here. And that's a full 2/3 being represented. It says and 1/6, 1/6. So if I look at this, I notice that 3 and 6 both go into 6. I could say there's 1/6, 2/6, 3/6, 4/6, 5/6. That is very hard to say. 5/6 is my answer. The answer to the third one. Third one says 3/4 plus 2/6. 3/4 plus 2/6. And I think that's going to be a little more than 1. So at this time, I'm going to have a 0, 1, and a 2. And we're talking about quarters and 6. So I'm going to make my quarters like this. And the first one says 3/4. So I'm going to go 3/4, 3/4. And then it says plus 2/6. Well, that's kind of hard to do because I know that goes into thirds. There's my thirds. And then we want 6 of those. So that's kind of hard because I know 2/6 is going to be a difficult one to do. So I'm going to have to actually go into the symbolic to figure this one out. So let's see, 3/4 plus 2/6. Well, if I look for a common multiple of 4 and 6, let's do a common multiple of 4 and 6. 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. And I think that's where we're gonna get, oh no, look, 12 did it first. We got 12. So I'm just gonna change this into a couple of equivalent fractions. Let's change those over. I'm going to see 4 times 3 is 12. Now I'm getting muddled up, don't we all? Don't forget to do same top and bottom. To turn a 6 into a 12, I have to have times 2. So I have 3 times 3 is 9, 4 times 3 is 12, plus 2 times 2 is 4, 6 times 2 is 12. So I now have 9 twelfths plus 4 twelfths is 13 twelfths. Well, look at that. So if I were to rewrite this mess, I know it's 13 twelfths. It looks like I have 3/4, and those 2/6 are going to get me just over 1 to 13 twelfths. Going to get me just over 1 to 13 twelfths. And here we have 1/2 and 2/5. Now once again, I noticed that these are kind of hard to be compatible. I ran into that problem in the last one. So I'm going to do it symbolically first and then draw my number line. So it's 1/2 plus 2/5. So I've got 1/2 plus 2/5. Here we go. I need a common multiple that both of those can go into, and I know that when I do this, I will find that 10 is my common multiple. So what I need to do is rewrite this with equivalent fractions. To make this into a 10, it's times 5. To make that into a 10, it's times 2. Same top and bottom, so they are truly equivalent fractions. 1 times 5 is 5, 2 times 5 is 10, plus 2 times 2 is 4, plus 5 times 2 is 10. That gives me 9/10. So I need to get 9/10 out of this. I know that's where I'm going to get to. Now I'm going to draw my number line. And 9/10 is just shy of 1, so I'm just going to go from 0 to 1, and it's in tenths. So I'm going to go like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's see, we had, if I go back to the question, 1/2 plus 2/5. So 1/2 would be 5/10. Plus 2/5, and we know it got us to 9. So I've got 1/2 plus 2/5, and that gets us to 9/10. The last question, number 3, it says, Prince, I love chocolate, and Princess, I prefer carrot cake, eating cheesecake at the Cheesecake Factory. And basically what it comes down to is the prince eats 2/3 of his cheesecake, the princess eats half of her cake, and they didn't want to waste the leftovers, so they made a box. I find drawing a picture works the best, so we're going to call it Prince, I love chocolate. Oh, wait, I guess they both start with that. We've got Prince, I love chocolate, and we've got Princess, I prefer cheesecake here. Well, Prince, I love chocolate. He ate 2/3 of his cake. Princess, I prefer cheesecake. She ate, what was it, 1/2 of her cheesecake. Now, one common mistake that kids made is they looked at this and they thought, oh, so what are they bringing home? They would go like this. But if you put this together, you're not adding up what they're taking home. You're adding up what they ate. And that's not what we want to find out. We want to find out what they're taking home. And what they're taking home is 1/3 and 1/2. Because Prince, I love chocolate, he ate all but 1/3. Now the first thing we need to do is we need to make this into an equivalent fraction. So that'd be times 2 to make 6, times 3 to make 6. Oops. And I now have 2/6 plus 3/6 equals 5/6. 5/6. So they have 5/6 of a piece of cheesecake left. Or was it chocolate cake? I can't remember. Anyhow, how much did they take home? 5/6 all together, or 1/3 of the prince's cake and 1/2 of the princess's cake.